Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Julie and I'm coming to you from just north of Glasgow in the UK. My channel is about textile based things I make, sewing, knitting, sometimes patchwork, sometimes crochet, sometimes a bit of beading, necklace making. I'm going to start by saying thank you very much for watching and subscribing. Particularly new subscribers, thank you very much. It's good to have your company. First of all, what I'm wearing today. I made this top yesterday and it's the canvas set by Merchant and Mills. I'm going to have a bit of a musing today about making, inspiration, why we make things, etc. And this top I made yesterday came out of opening my wardrobe, my drawers yesterday, and looking for something to wear. And I have quite a few summer tops. But I think the weather's gone quite cold here in the UK, so I don't feel really comfortable wearing some of the ones I have. So I was trying to think, this is a little bit thicker, this fabric. I don't know if it solved the problem of looking in my wardrobe and what to wear. But my other musing is I spend a lot of my time at home. I'm retired. I don't need to get up and out every day. But I still like to feel nice in what I'm wearing. And I've got I haven't got loads of clothes, but I have clothes I think, I don't like that. I feel a bit dowdy in that. And then I thought, hang on, I can make clothes. So I may, I don't know, have a revamp of some of the things I've made, or make some more of the things I like. So I can say, well, this makes me feel good. This is what I'm going to wear today. Even though I'm staying at home, I don't want to be wearing stuff that doesn't make me feel good. So that's my bit of a musings on why I make. And I went to this canvas set top because I like the shape, although I might come back to that in a moment. It's a nice quick make, and I thought it's something it's short sleeve, but it's something I could wear under a cardigan for this sort of not so warm but not wintry. Right, so I will add a photograph either side of me wearing the top, and I will also add a bit later the amount of fabric I used. This was a bit of fabric I had left in my stash from something else, and title of my channel, Stitched from My Stash. I don't really want to go out and buy more fabric, and I want to try and use what I have. So hence this top out of these pieces of fabric, which I managed to cut. It's all on the right grain, so it's not, I haven't had to go off the grain, which obviously is better. And I only have a little bit left, which I have a plan, to know if I'll bring it to fruition, of making, I have some dolls and making sort of similar clothes for the dolls, which our granddaughter will like. Anyway, we'll see. So what else to say about this canvas set top? It's a really nice make. What I do, I trace using pattern paper my size. This is a 12. I trace my size and then I leave the pattern pieces whole so I don't cut them. that makes it easier for me. And what else am I going to say? The only thing I might change, and you know, if the photograph is still up there, I'm quite narrow shouldered, and really I could amend the pattern to make the shoulders a bit narrower, or perhaps I rushed setting the sleeves in. They set in sleeves, so I may undo the sleeves and perhaps apply the notches a bit clearer. Perhaps I went a bit too quick sort of setting in the sleeves, because I'm not quite sure if I like the way it sits on the shoulder. But in terms of my aim of having something that goes under a cardigan, that works. It's a fabric which has, hang on, weft stretch, a tiny bit of stretch, not much. There's no stretch on the warp threads. So it's not really totally the fabric required for this this pattern. It's more of a linen type, but it works, and it's going to get me through some of this changeable weather. What else is there to say? I did start off, there's darts here, and I did start off with an ordinary needle in my machine, but it was snagging a little bit, so I did go over to my ballpoint needles, which I didn't have any snagging afterwards. With me, it's all a little bit of crack on rather than going slow and steady. So the ballpoint needles, which I had, were better for using this. I suppose it's a type of knit fabric, but I didn't have any more snags on there. I used this sort of denim-y colour thread. I have lots of thread, so I don't mind getting through that. I do have some other spools of similar colours, and there's a bit of overstitching on the neckline and overstitching on the waist, and the sleeves, it's quite short sleeves, are made, you know, I've sewn them on the machine, not hand stitched them. So that's the colour thread I used. Anything else? I think that's it. I would definitely recommend this pattern. It does say on the back it's a beginner pattern, and I think I've worn it on I've worn a version on a previous post, and it is one of my go-to summer makes. So that's what I'm wearing, and I do have my list here, and I'm going to tick that off, what I'm wearing. And the second thing I'm going to talk about is mending, which I have here behind me, which my mending piles up. I'll come back to that in a moment. So what have I mended? I didn't do these last week, but the week before. So I've darned some socks using my speed weaver, which is here. Little weaver thing. You can get these online. I think Merchant and Mills are selling them now. So they are quite a neat little device for doing your darning. So these are the first pair of socks. I think I know the second pair of socks I made, blimey, 7 years ago. So they have lasted, but the bottoms had gone a bit thin. So I darned those using sock weight yarn, and I've washed them since, so that I did wash them on wool, and I did use, on a wool cycle, I did use wool liquid, but it has tightened up a little bit, which is fine. That's okay. So I darned those. They can go back in the drawer. I darned 2 pairs of these. And these socks, blimey, 25 years old. These are walking socks. And they're probably some kind of acrylic fabric. But I did some speed weaver darning on those. And on the toe. And that's 1 pair. And then these, slightly different yarn. None on the front on that one. Little bit on the top there. Did I set up my speed weaver? I think so. On tiny little hole on the top, and then some on the bottom. And these are nice socks for hill walking. I haven't been for, gosh, a good few weeks. I had something wrong with my foot. I turned on it, I think. But that's better now, luckily. So hopefully more hill walking coming. And the last pair of ordinary weight socks, which the heels had gone, and I did a little bit of, I think I'd already done some speed weaving there, and I added a bit, and I must have added a bit to that one as well. So those socks were done. I do have more socks to do, but I'm going to make a plan, don't know if I'll stick to it, of trying to do 1 piece of mending a week. The mending plays on my mind, thinking, oh, I know I should get rid of the shoulds, but I should be doing the mending. So I'm going to try and do 1 piece of mending a week. So that big sock basket is there waiting. The other thing I mended was these jeans, which are Andrew's jeans, which probably get to the bottom of my mending pile. I will add some photos of these, of the process. And essentially what I did, I undid the outer seam there. I unpicked the outer seam so that I could get into the inner of the leg, and I put the patches on, I think because I did start these ages ago. I put a patch on the inside using a Bonder web type adhesive interfacing, and I think I just sewed these on, and then what I did in my mending week, I went around them, around the patches, with a zigzag on my machine. And like I said, I have loads of thread, so it's just the time I need to invest in, and they should be quite sturdy. I know once jeans do start to get a bit thin, it is difficult to mend them sufficiently, but these should be sturdy enough. And the other panel, I hadn't added any outside patches. I think prior to this, ages ago, I did add some Bonder web and a big patch here, and it didn't look very nice. So these little bits are the remnants of the Bonder web I couldn't get off ages ago. So I just went around with some zigzag, I suppose, to give it a feature and to secure the inside patch a bit better. So they are done for now, although, as I said, once jeans start to go, how long do you keep mending them? But they'll have quite a few more wears, I should think. So that's my mending. I will add some photographs here of the process of when I undid and went into the inner leg. So mending, as I said, goes to the bottom of my pile, and I am going to try and get to it a bit more readily. I've got things, bits of fabric I want to organise, etc. And I'd rather get things straight. I suppose it's about a sense of control. Anyway, we'll see. So that's my mending. So I'm going to tick that off. I don't think there's anything else. Mending. I think what I was going to say, another bit of musings about sewing, is as I was doing the mending, and I think I got a bit stuck in a rut, got to do the mending. And then when I finished it, I thought, where do I go from here? Because I was in the zone of the mending. And I just wondered what other people feel about, I know some people talk about a palette cleanser in terms of going from one project to another. But how do people get sort of what's your go-to project if you feel you're looking for your next inspiration? I like to make things when I think, oh, I really want to do this, but I got a bit stuck after the mending. So if anybody would like to comment on what's your go-to when you can't really get your inspiration, but there's something that's a solid make that you turn to when you're waiting for that real, oh, I want to make this, please leave a comment. I'd be really interested to know. What I ended up doing to get myself into the zone of making again was a crochet blanket, which perhaps that's my go-to. I have loads of acrylic yarn to use up, which came from my late mother's stash, things people have given me, bits I've bought, and I really don't want to buy any more yarn till I get through this. I have used a lot of the sort of light baby type colours, so I'll have to get my inspiration cap on for where I go next. So the one I'm working on now is this, which is granny clusters. Now, I've always wanted to make one of these granny stripes. I'm okay on the granny squares, but I was struggling with the granny stripes because they were going out of shape on the sides. So I did find a lovely video. People are so kind posting tutorials, instructional videos on YouTube. And I did find one, and am I going to remember the name? Play Hooky with me, I think. I will write it below. And she gives a really lovely tutorial on how to do the granny stripes. And what she ends up saying is it's 2 1 2 1 2 1. So this is a 2-row repeat, and most of the row is 3 clusters of triple crochet UK, double crochet US, and at the end on row 1 you start with 2 clusters in your first hole, whatever, and you end with 2, and on the second row you only do 1 and 1 at the end, and then your sides are straight. What else I did, I wove in my new colour, so I don't have as many of the first colour to weave in. I will do a colour around the edge with single double crochet as per the instructions that Play Hooky With Me gives. So I will go around that. This is double knit acrylic, and I used a 4mm hook. It is quite a thick double knit, I think. So I was trying to match out of my stash the double knit, but the thicker version. And unfortunately, I don't have much of the pink left. So I did one row of white, then lilac, pink, and peachy orange. So I have plenty of the lilac and the peachy orange. So I'm going, when I finish the pink, I think I've got some creamy, I should put it in this bag when I'm keeping all my bits of wool. I'm going to have to use a cream. So it's going to be sort of a half and half. This will be pink and the other two colours, and the top will be a cream and the other two colours, which should be fine. So I'm pleased with that I've managed to tackle doing the granny stripes, because I have lots of other colours that I can use the same technique for now. I'm a beginner crochet or a learner. I haven't done loads of crochet, but I'm pleased with that. Anything else I need to say about this? No, I think that's it. As I said, I'll put the tutorial I used. I'll try and do a link or whatever at the bottom, see how I get on. So that's a work in progress, which I'm now going to tick off. Where are we? Crochet blanket. What other works in progress? I've done some embroidery, and I have that in, oh dear, that was my basket isn't big enough. I have my embroidery in here. What fell to the floor was I have some threads in here. Again, these are threads I've had. And in here, and a little pouch that I can keep. What have I got in here? Made this ages ago. I think I was using it as a pencil case when I was working. So some wax, which I don't think I've used much for this project. So that's what fell out of my basket. I have 3 of these magazines, which I think are really good magazines, bought in a charity shop, I think. So the pattern I'm doing now, I have more threads. I had from this magazine, and I've made a start on it. So this chain stitch is new to me. These leaves got better as I progressed, and these are going to be white flowers and some writing. So I'll see how I get on with this. Again, I'm new to embroidery, but I really wanted to try it. And I do have all these threads, more threads, more threads. And I did find this fabric in a drawer in my sewing room. And I'm not sure if it's a calico. It's quite thick, but not too thick. And it seems to work quite well for the embroidery. So that was a good find in my stash again. Anything else about this? I have considered buying some more of those magazines on eBay, or some more threads. There's some really nice things on there. But I'm trying to rein myself in. I think I'm very weak-willed when I see something. I think, oh, I could get that. And I think, no, I should use what I have. But I have bought on eBay, they haven't arrived yet, some more smaller hoops, just because I had to purchase something. Isn't that naughty? Anyway, doesn't matter. So I've got some more hoops coming, and there are some more designs in here that I can use. I did start another embroidery, and this was on a linen. And this was from the Jessie Chorley book. But I think I wasn't as pleased with the result. I suppose this is the look. It is supposed to look like this. But I'm a learner, so I wanted something perhaps a bit more contained to learn the technique, the stitches, before I went on to something which is a bit more free flowing, I suppose. So 2 embroidery works in progress, and I think there's one more work in progress, and that's it, apart from a little bit of musings at the end. So my other work in progress is in this basket, which is the red quilt. So I have cut out most of the patches. This is the block I'm aiming to create. But the block I will make is going to be a little bit bigger than this. I redid the maths, and I think just to make the cutting of these squares easier. Anyway, it's going to be a little bit bigger than this, and I think there will be 3. I'll use this red and this red as the half square triangle contrasts, and then the center squares will be a different, I think I've got 3 different fabrics for the center. Yes, I have somewhere. So I did a little book to keep my workings out in, and I had this idea from a really fabulous quilter, and I can't remember the name of the site, so I will put it in the notes. I haven't watched her for a good few weeks, so that's, no, I haven't put it on here, so I can do the maths in there, and then I've ticked off when I've cut out the squares. Now, I thought I'd cut out enough, but I couldn't quite get my head round how many squares I needed for the half square triangles. So I'm going to have to cut out another 100, I think. The fabric I used is from Stash, but I'm going to add some photos here. This fabric was from a cotton top I made, which I hardly wore. I didn't like it on me. So I'll put a picture of that up. And this fabric, again, was from a pair of pajamas that I unpicked. And I did unpick, and I had done French seams, so I had a lot of unpicking to do. but I wanted to reclaim as much of the fabric as possible. I made these pajama bottoms too big, and it's like a poplin-y fabric, and I decided I didn't like them. I'd stopped wearing them ages ago. I hardly wore them. So I thought, use that. It's a really pretty fabric. I think it's Rose and Hubble. So that's going into the quilt. And I have a bit more that's not been used, so I can use that if necessary. And I have more of that lovely red, so I can use that. And I've got this for the backing. So I think that's me done for this week. My other little musings before I finish. I'm going to try to create a habit of doing one, and it doesn't mean finished, but working on one sewn or patchwork item a week. So I'm adding to the progress. They won't be finished every week. One knitted or crochet item. Again, won't be finished, but it'll be something I'll be working on over the week. One embroidery item and one mended item. So I have 4 different items or so on the go. I'll try to give that a go. So I'm always focused on something rather than when I did the mending and I felt it was too much. So that's me for today. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you get some stitching done. It's good for us to be making, I think. And look after yourselves. Look after each other if you can as well. And see you next week. Bye.